Before Johnny had lost his libel case with the Sun newspaper, many production companies were deciding to stay out of the whole situation involving him and Amber Heard. Warner Brothers even said that they were refusing to pick sides, and back in 2017, both the director and producer of the film defended keeping Depp in the series. Although once the hammer dropped and the judge ruled in favor of the newspaper and their original statements calling Depp a wife beater, everyone began to distance themselves. Depp then released a statement on his Instagram and said, "In light of recent events, I would like to make the following short statement. Firstly, I'd like to thank everybody who has gifted me with their support and loyalty. I have been humbled and moved by your many messages of love and concern, particularly over the last few days. Secondly, I wish to let you know that I have been asked to resign by Warner Bros. For my role as Grindelwald in Fantastic Beasts, and I have respected and agreed to that request. Finally, I wish to say this, the surreal judgment of the court in the UK will not change my fight to tell the truth, and I confirm that I plan to appeal. My resolve remains strong, and I intend to prove that the allegations against me are false. My life and career will not be defined by this moment in time." Now, regardless of how much he wants to fight, these court rulings are going to be hard to come back from. Just a few years ago, Johnny Depp was one of the highest paid actors in the world, but after allegations of domestic violence, he essentially became box office poison. Not to his fans, obviously, but to the executive producers who are worried about being accused themselves of supporting an alleged wife abuser. That's where this whole situation of Johnny Depp being pushed out of Hollywood really stems from. According to a Washington Post report, Disney is said to have fired Depp from their Pirates of the Caribbean franchise 4 days after Amber Heard's 2018 op-ed article. The odd thing is that the article never actually named Depp, so Disney just acted on instinct with no evidence purely to save face. Then to make matters even weirder, they claimed to be removing Depp to add a new energy and vitality to the franchise, which was most likely a cover-up, seeing as though they acted swiftly on this disparaging op-ed piece from Amber Heard. Although another reason why Hollywood could be refusing to cast Depp is his price tag. According to Forbes, Depp's salary, including his profit percentage, works out to around $100 million per film for the Pirates franchise. That being said, the last film hit crazy box office numbers. Pirates of the Caribbean Dead Men Tell No Tales registered a box office haul of nearly $800 million, which is even below the over $1 billion totals of the franchise's second and fourth films. With the third film, I think it was grossing somewhere in the ballpark of like $960 million. Whatever Disney is planning on doing with that extra $90 million or $100 million, it better be a decent replacement for Johnny Depp, because if not, all this money will do is cover a tremendous loss at the box office. So far, the only company that has defended Johnny Depp is Dior. Depp has been the face of Dior's fragrance Sauvage since 2015, and even amid backlash from defending him, they still refuse to fire Johnny. So it's possible that we will begin to see Depp transitioning from major box office films to representing more companies that don't mind having a controversial figure as their frontman. After their ad aired during the Great British Bake Off, the Advertising Standards Authority said that they received a total of 11 complaints about the ad, with the complaints believing that Johnny Depp shouldn't be in it due to the details concerning his recent court case. However, the company has been thriving on controversy for years now, and having Depp represent them has never been a better fit. Regardless of Hollywood not wanting to hire Johnny Depp anymore, he still has millions of supporters. It's also very possible that through these supporters, Johnny Depp will be able to leverage more studios that will back him. He said hopefully.
Abigail Breslin, who you might know from films like Zombieland and the show Scream Queens, is currently at the center of a legal battle after accusing her latest co-star Aaron Eckhart of aggressive, demeaning, and unprofessional behavior on the set of their upcoming project, Classified. This is all according to a complaint filed by producers of the film. Dream Team Studios and WM Holdings are claiming that Breslin made wild, hysterical, and imaginary allegations against Eckhart. Accusations which forced the production to spend $80 grand on accommodations alone. In order for the production to continue, Breslin refused to be alone in several scenes with Aaron. Costly accommodations had to be made by the production to meet Breslin's demands, or she would not continue to perform her contractual obligations. In a statement obtained by People, a representative for Breslin, Michelle Bega, said that the actress is not currently aware of any actions filed against her and has not been served with any legal notices. Breslin categorically denies contended allegations against her and unequivocally stands by her statement, according to the lady, which she confidently provided to the Screen Actors Guild. According to the lawsuit, an investigation by an on-set producer referred to as Mr. Georgie found no evidence in support of Breslin's claims. The entire production almost ground to a halt when Abigail advised the producers of Eckhart's aggressive, demeaning, and unprofessional behavior, which she insisted placed her at various times in peril. So far, there's not a ton of information on that exact situation, like what did he say or do to make things so crazy, we don't know. What we do know is that this is not the first time that Abigail and Aaron have worked together on a film set. In 2007, Breslin-Eckhart worked together on the set of a film called No Reservations, a romantic comedy starring Aaron Eckhart as the leading man and Catherine Zeta-Jones as his love interest. According to the plot, Aaron and Zeta are the stars, with Breslin acting as Catherine's on-screen niece that her character is forced to take care of. The film sits at a modest 62% approval rate with audiences, but one thing that never happened on the set was Abigail accusing anyone of being mean. Now, to be fair, in 2007, Abigail Breslin would have been like 11, maybe at that time. He was being mean, but she just didn't really realize or care enough to make a big deal out of it. She was also a child actor and not the star of that project, so it's not like she could just walk up to a production guy and be like, Aaron's being a mean jerk face. Get it? Because she's short, she has to look up. But now in 2023, as the co-star of the new film Classified, she has a lot of pull. The plot of that film is actually kind of interesting. Aaron plays Evan Shaw, a man who's been solely using the classified section of various newspapers to receive his orders. Suddenly, he learns from his estranged daughter, played by Breslin, that his division has actually been shut down for years. It's actually the first big film for Aaron Eckhart in a while, thanks to his long history of box office duds. Of course, starring in The Dark Knight as Harvey Dent, aka Two-Face, was no small role, and it certainly didn't fly under the radar. He's just one of the many cast and crew that made The Dark Knight one of the best action movies of all time, and the best in the Dark Knight trilogy. However, between A and B, Hollywood gave him so many chances to make a name for himself. Following The Dark Knight in 2008, Aaron struggled to find the right fit despite his newfound fame. He was casted in mainly action movies, usually as the leading man or a secondary lead, and it's almost always never worked out. I do say almost because some of them made a decent bit of money. I personally know Aaron best as Frankenstein's monster in the action thriller I, Frankenstein, which is a film that follows Frankenstein caught in a war between gargoyles and demons. I did not make that up. That is a real movie, and that actually exists, and that plot is true. It has 5% on Rotten Tomatoes, and I bought it on DVD before seeing it. The most regretful purchase I've ever made in my life, and I own a ShamWow. He did make waves in some projects, starring alongside Tom Hanks in Sully, and of course Gerard Butler and Morgan Freeman in Olympus, London, and Angel Has Fallen. While not always appearing in big blockbuster movies, he has kept busy, starring in low-budget films, straight to streamers, and some horror projects like Incarnate. Eckhart actually claims that his lack of work is because he created a reputation for himself as a difficult man to work with. He once took his frustrations out on an extra on set, saying that he lashed out. He was doing a monologue that he was unsure about performing, and the extra who was paid to be there was falling asleep while he was talking. He said something because, hey, he thought about all the people who were out of work while this person was just napping for 20 bucks an hour. Since then, he has made an effort to be better and do better on set, but according to him, it's been difficult. He knows that he can sometimes be intense and has attempted to maintain his composure better over the years. He also claims to be a bit competitive with fellow actors, which may be a major part of why his reputation is not that great. On the other hand, Abigail Breslin has also been appearing in less and less big budget movies. For those of you who may be unfamiliar with her work, Abigail started acting when she was very young. Her first major speaking role was in the 2002 M. Night Shyamalan thriller Signs alongside Joaquin Phoenix and Mel Gibson when she was only 6. She was casted time and time again, being nominated for several awards, including an Oscar for her role in Little Miss Sunshine, a movie that she made at the age of 10 and where she received an award for Best Young Actress from the Critics' Choice Awards. As she grew up, her roles became few and far between, but she has gotten the chance to work with a ton of A-list celebrities like Halle Berry, Ryan Reynolds, Matt Damon, and of course, Woody Harrelson in Zombieland, which is where I personally know her best from. Go Little Rock. This was not a conscious move on her part. In fact, she has been taking every opportunity she can to work and build her repertoire. She started playing smaller roles in smaller movies and has maintained a steady stream of work outside of mainstream Hollywood, with her last big role being in Zombieland 2: Double Tap. She was in Stillwater and released a film earlier this year called Miranda's Victim, based on a true story, but that film kind of flew flew under the radar, so you would be forgiven if you didn't know it existed. The accusations currently making waves have honestly had very little impact on Breslin and her career. Now, from what I've been able to research, and it's not a lot, there is no evidence that she has lost jobs or been let go from any projects. Same with Aaron. This is his first role in a couple of years thanks to, the world closing. So it is still very much up in the air as to what's actually going to happen with their respective careers and of course this project as a whole. Now that the acting strike has completed and productions will be back in full swing, who knows what the future holds for Abigail? Zombieland 3 would be nice. Breslin has actually been a massive star in the world of feminism and violence awareness. She has been very candid in the past about some of the more difficult personal experience she's had, opening up about a previous toxic relationship in honor of Domestic Violence Awareness Month. In a response to one fan who thanked her for sharing her story, Breslin said in October of 2022 that being open and honest was a part of her healing journey. She would not wish for her worst enemy to go through the same things that she did. She thanked people like that fan for their support and kind words. Another fan posted in the comments that someday they hope they can trust someone enough again to try a new relationship, and Breslin told the fan that they would get there. It's difficult to imagine, but it does take time. The man that Abigail was dating caused such a toxic relationship and was not named directly, but she mentioned that she was in the relationship for almost 2 years. In an Instagram post, she shared her story, describing a time when she was naive and, according to herself, taken advantage of by her older partner. This man was a menace, locking her in rooms, being physically violent, to the point where she had to use heavy concealer to hide her scars and bruises while working. The physical injuries were accompanied by a plethora of put-downs, shaming, and harsh verbal mistreatment. In her post, she wrote about how she felt unworthy of anyone's love, or ugly and hated, like she deserved less than dirt. Thankfully, she was able to get out of the relationship due to the support of her family and friends who were invaluable in their roles of getting her out of this toxic situation. Since that relationship has ended, she has been candid about the post-traumatic stress that she still deals with on a daily basis. She will occasionally have nightmares, and certain things have been known to set her off emotionally. Considering the heavy material that I just went over, there are going to be some links in the description below with information for anybody who feels that they may be in a toxic or dangerous relationship. It's not something you gotta take lightly, and please know that you're not alone and people are out there to help you. Abigail's past may play a big part in her reacting to Aaron Eckhart on set. She's currently engaged and happy to be, but when someone is loud or aggressive in any way, it can be stressful and bring up some terrible feelings. For all we know, Aaron was just being a bit stingy or angry or snappy, and Abigail just felt uncomfortable. That's not an uncommon feeling, especially in the world of Hollywood. So many people have complained about fellow actors and what they've done on set and beyond. Most of the time, those complaints are actually warranted. Let's not forget, there was an entire online movement a few years ago that exposed several Hollywood heavyweights as being truly gross people. I'm actually not allowed to say their names or show their faces because the nature of the situation was so sensitive and it impacted millions of people. The Me Too movement was a pivotal moment in the world of Hollywood. So many people were given a chance to speak their truth and finally be heard. Hollywood actually reacted to firing people left and right and recasting them in the middle of films. In 2023, there are still so many men being exposed as toxic or problematic. This year alone, we saw men like Russell Brand, Jonah Hill, Danny Matheson exposed as toxic people who wish to control their partners, or in Matheson and Brand's case, it's so much worse. Honestly, Jonah Hill looks tame compared to those two.
Starting off our list today at number 10, we have Forced to Marry Will, with Jada Pinkett Smith and Will Smith's marriage being the top subject when it comes to scandals over the last year. It's left us all wondering when Jada might just stop, grow up, and stop making jabs at her husband in an attempt to embarrass him any further. When the actress's reaction after the Oscar ceremony in 2022 was to condemn her husband for slapping Chris Rock, the incident led the press to review previously published content around the couple. And a video then re-emerged from 2018, where in it, Jada could be seen stating that she never wanted to get married and she was forced to marry Will because she was pregnant. The video would actually turn out to be an episode from her Red Table Talk podcast, which featured her, Will, their daughter Willow, and Jada's mother. In the interview, Jada would say she was under so much pressure and she didn't know what to do, but her mother forced her to marry Will. Number 9. Substance use. Back in 2021, Jada would candidly detail her past issues with substances and alcohol, where she would say that she was a walking miracle after kicking her addictions. During her Red Table Talk, Jada would open up about how she used to combine wine with other forms of substances when she developed a tolerance tolerance to solely drinking. She would then go on to say, I wasn't doing things that I thought were addictive, but I would do those 3 together. That was my cocktail. Your threshold becomes so high that what it takes for you to get to the place you need to get to, it will take me 2 bottles to get to, okay? If I do substances with alcohol at the same time, I get there faster and I can keep the feeling going. Jada then said she went cold turkey one day after she had a health scare on the set of the 1996 The Nutty Professor, as she passed out on set and made a total fool of herself. Hey my little peaches, are you liking this video so far? If so, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Number 8. Comments about the Oscars. Just when the confrontation that happened between Will Smith and Chris Rock had become one of the most discussed topics around the world, a lot of people had their say on the comedian's joke and the actor's decision to respond by slapping the comedian. And if things couldn't get any better, Jada Pinkett Smith then broke her silence on the issue when she chose to write a message on her social media account saying, "This is a season for healing and I'm here for it." Though Jada didn't say anything during the controversial moment, she did, however, make sure she was in the center of it going forward, as she claimed that she hoped Will and Chris could eventually heal and reconcile one day, and that she never forced her husband to slap Chris. Her and Will were moving forward and were going to focus on their lives. But it all just seemed a little too sus, and she shouldn't have said anything, and she should have just more supported her husband through this hard time. Number 7. The controversial podcast. When it comes to the Red Table Talk, it's definitely a one-of-a-kind talk show that features a one-of-a-kind family. While the show was created with good intentions, as the family just wanted to create a safe space where they could talk about some pretty weird topics, the conversations have become real, raw, unfiltered conversations, where not only the family has exposed their darkest secrets, but other celebrities as well. And while the show has gone on to gain quite an impressive fan base, the in-depth conversations have become pretty controversial when it comes to the hot button issues that are discussed, and it has hurt Jada's career to the point she can't even get casted in anything, and she really hasn't worked on anything since her role in the Scream franchise. Number 6. The Matrix controversy. The Matrix franchise is well known for revolutionizing the cinema world with its stunning visuals and graphics. From the very release of the first movie, The Matrix made an everlasting impact on the souls of the audience, with the franchise being represented well by Keanu Reeves and Carrie-Anne Moss. Did you know that the hit duo actually could have been represented by celebrity couple Will Smith and Jada Pinkett Smith? But since Will Smith refused to play the hit character of Neo in the blockbuster franchise, as the actor was in no mood to shoot another Alien movie after Independence Day, Jada Pinkett Smith would fail to be selected for the role, and she blames it on Will, as she didn't have any chemistry with Reeves, which resulted in her to lose the role. So it goes on to show that she just has trouble connecting with other people on set when they aren't her friend or family members. The actress did, however, go on to grab a role in the franchise after she lied about not being pregnant. Number 5. Scientology affiliation. Reports have been stating for years now that Jada Pinkett Smith has had strong ties to the Church of Scientology. Although she has never publicly subscribed to the belief system, many sources have claimed that not only did she once practice Scientology, but she was also heavily involved in it. The information would come to light after a former Scientologist told the Daily Mail that not only was Jada a member, but she was also a recruiter who was paid to lure people into the church. The source also went on to say Jada was always around the celebrity center, doing things her own way with Kelly Preston in the president's office. Tony Ortega, who has extensively covered celebrity involvement in Scientology, also said on his blog, The Underground Bunker, "We have known for years that the dedicated Scientology in the family was Jada Smith." And Jada's alleged connections to Scientology did not stop there. In fact, they only appeared to get stronger over time, as she also went on to open a private school for the church in one of her homes. Number 4. Too full of herself. When the Los Angeles Times caught up with Hubert to ask her to clarify her criticism of Jada, Hubert would claim that Jada and her husband clearly needed to get over themselves when she said, "You ain't all that, you're not kings and queens, you're not royalty, you're simply entertainers." But that's clearly not how the Smiths see it. Vivica A. Fox once even fought back tears as she spoke about Jada Pinkett Smith's remarks about her husband smacking Will Smith at the Academy Awards in 2022, when the actress said on an episode of When Wendy Williams show that Jada took no accountability for her role in the incident on her Red Table Talk. Fox then went on to explain she believes Jada played a part in the incident when she said, "Will was defending her honor. That's the reason he walked on the stage and slapped, because he felt like his wife had been offended." She then went on to note that because Jada took no accountability, it made her seem so self-righteous and full of herself. Number 3, bad parenting. So before I get into the bad parenting aspect, I think it's worth mentioning that Will and Jada's kids once freaked out Sony executives to the point they emailed Will about the issues, and he just responded by saying everyone just disses his kids. However, Sony isn't the only ones to question Jada's and Will's parenting, as when Willow was pictured in bed with a 20-year-old man in 2014, it would spark a police investigation. Radar Online would then post an article where they would state the Los Angeles Department of Children and Family Services were looking into the snap of Willow, who was 13 at the time, that was posted online and then later deleted. Will and Jada were extremely cooperative with officials, but they weren't so happy that their parenting skills were under scrutiny. Jada would then break her silence about the issues and would say that there was nothing wrong with the picture or the situation. Number 2, the affair. It seems like just after the whole world was done talking about Jada's affair with her son's friend August Alsina, it would be brought out again after new details were released to the public earlier this month. As after August watched Chris Rock's Netflix special, he told the Post he thought it was not only funny, but it was also truthful. And that was the best part for him. So when Rock finally went public about his thoughts about being slapped by Will Smith at the 2022 Oscars in his Netflix comedy special Selective Outrage, he would speculate that Smith only smacked him not over his joke about Jada's baldness, but because he was unleashing built-up anger he had over his wife's affair. A source would then confirm that August was happy to see Chris Rock advocating the truth, as everyone has been against him since the whole affair was exposed. And considering Jada downplayed their relationship with her son's friend for 4 years, Will was led to believe that nothing was going on until she embarrassed him on the Red Table Talk, and since Hollywood has been wondering what kind of woman she exactly is, because she's not normal, that's for sure. And coming in number 1 today, we have Not in Demand. After a promising breakout performance as Maureen in the 1997 film Scream 2, Jada's career looked to be heading in the right direction, but then it was stalled in the following years to come after she gained a role in the film Woo. Variety described it as being an unfunny comedy that brought out the worst in just about everybody involved in the film. In years to come, Jada was only able to land supporting roles, but her record with critics has been spotty at best. Despite her best efforts, studios have not been keen on casting her as a leading lady, and the only successful role she's been able to gain a leading role is for her voice work as Gloria on the animated film franchise Madagascar. She even did a really bad job playing Fish Mooney in Fox's DC crime drama Gotham.
Starting off our list, number 10 is Terrence Howard. If you missed all the drama back in 2008, the actor was fired from Marvel's Iron Man movie and burned bridges with pretty much everyone who was involved. Apparently, he was difficult to work with and also wasn't happy with his hefty pay offer, which was reported to be between $3.5 to $4.5 million. Yeah, I wouldn't be happy either with that much money. So he already had a sketchy reputation with Hollywood throughout the years, but in 2019, he made the announcement that he was actually quitting acting. He attended the Emmy Awards and shortly after did an interview where he said, "Oh, I'm done with acting. I'm done pretending. I'm just focusing on bringing the truth to the world." At the time of this video, he is still finishing up his movie called Selfie, so it'll be interesting to see how this all plays out and if he stays true to his word. But at this point, I probably wouldn't even want to work with him. Up next, number 9 is Eliza Dushku. She first made a real name for herself when she took on the role of Misty in Bring It On. From there, her career just completely took off, but came to a sudden end after she made harassment claims back in 2017. After working on TV series like Buffy the Vampire Slayer, Dollhouse, Leap Year, she signed on to be a part of the series called Bull. But just after 3 episodes, she came forward saying that the producer, Glenn Gordon Caron, would make inappropriate comments about her in front of the entire cast and crew. Apparently, he made remarks about her appearance, he made a joke about rape, and also made a comment about having a threesome. She filed a lawsuit, and after going through mediation with CBS, the company paid her a settlement of $9.5 million. She hasn't acted in anything ever since it was settled, which I think is completely wrong, so I'm actually not impressed that she's on this list. Like, this is not good news to Brer. Moving on to the number 8 spot is Clayne Crawford. In 2018, the actor was one of the biggest stars on Fox's TV series Lethal Weapon, but he was dismissed from the show for bad behavior, many people making claims that they did not want to work with him on the show. Videos were leaked later online showing 2 different on-set conflicts, one in which Clayne was yelling at the assistant director, and the other one showed a profanity-filled exchange with his co-star Damon Wayans. He did apologize for his behavior, but by that point it was already too late. So he ended up bashing Fox and Warner Brothers instead on how they handled the situation and said that they were blackmailing him with the videos for months. The only thing he's been able to book since then is a role in an independent film. So 2020 ain't looking too good. In spot number 7 is Monique. After she won an Academy Award for Best Supporting Actress in 2010 for her role in Precious, things turned sour 5 years later. She made headlines after she started making serious claims to The Hollywood Reporter, saying that she was blackballed by the industry. She said that the director of the movie, Lee Daniels, had a problem with her because she didn't say his name during the night of the Oscar Awards, but he says that she demanded things that weren't in line with the movie's campaign at the time. Then, later down the road, in November 2019, she filed a lawsuit against Netflix for pay discrimination, alleging that she was offered lower pay than every other comedian. She was offered $500,000 for her special, which is just a fraction of what Amy Schumer and Ellen DeGeneres made for theirs. So basically she's just getting into a whole bunch of beef with all parts of Hollywood. Cruising into number 6 is Jason Mitchell. He gained attention for his performance as Eazy-E in the 2015 movie Straight Outta Compton, which led to other big roles like his time on the TV series The Chi. He starred in the series from 2018 to 2019, but was let go after the news broke that he was dropped by Netflix. In May 2019, it was reported that Netflix dropped him from their movie Desperados, saying that he had inappropriate offset conduct. Not long after, he was dropped from The Chi and his personal agent. Some of his cast members made claims that he was inappropriate with them and often had issues with rage throughout the filming process. He of course denied the allegations and defended his case, but he probably will not be a hot commodity in 2020 for casting directors. Halfway through the list at number 5 is Lori Loughlin. She faced legal charges in 2019 after being one of many parents who got caught in a nationwide college admissions scandal. Not only did she face a fine, but she also lost her entire acting career. The scandal was known as Operation Varsity Blues. How it works is that people would pay a scam artist named William Singer who would work his magic and basically get them into a school or get them higher exam scores. Lori was accused of paying $500,000 to get her daughters, Olivia and Isabella, into the University of Southern California as crew recruits. Once the story broke, she was fired from the Hallmark Channel and from Netflix, the 2 networks where she starred on Fuller House and When Calls the Heart. She lost both TV series at once, which sucks, and we haven't seen her in anything ever since, and we probably won't be seeing her in 2020 either, which is a shame, because I really liked her on Full House. Moving down the list, we are at number 4 with Jussie Smollett. How could people ever forget his alleged Hollywood hate crime? If you don't remember this scandal that made headlines back in 2019, Jussie went to the hospital after being attacked by 2 males who were yelling racial slurs at him. It was reported that they poured a liquid substance on him before basically beating him so badly to a point where he was hospitalized. All of Hollywood and his fans were calling it a hate crime and wanted to seek justice. But in court, the truth came out and turns out that the 2 male suspects were actually paid by Jussie to stage the entire thing. In the end, Jussie was charged for filing a false police report. He was immediately fired from his role on the hit TV series Empire, and as of right now, he is not working on anything for 2020. People are just probably trying to avoid hiring him right now. In our 3rd spot is Roseanne Barr. She had her own TV series titled Roseanne, which ran through the years 1988 to 2018 with a total of 229 episodes. So you can imagine how devastating it was for her when she lost the entire show, along with her entire career. Throughout her long career, she's always been known for her unpredictable and unfiltered behavior, but she crossed the line when she sent out a racist tweet. The tweet has since been deleted, but it once referred to Valerie Jarrett, the senior advisor to President Barack Obama, as a child of the Muslim Brotherhood and Planet of the Apes. ABC called an emergency meeting immediately, and just a few hours later, her show was cancelled. It's probably safe to say that she won't be making a return to our screens in 2020, but rumor has it that she's planning a comeback tour, wanting to do a live comedy show, so we'll see how that goes. Taking over spot number 2 is Kevin Spacey. Since 2017, the sexual misconduct allegations against the actor have been heavily documented ever since actor Anthony Rapp first accused him of unwanted sexual advances. Following the claims, he was fired from his Netflix show House of Cards and has been appearing in different court dates ever since, after 30 more victims came forward. It was announced at the end of 2019 that all charges had been dropped at this point, so people started to wonder if he could be making a comeback in 2020. The charges weren't dropped because he was not guilty, they were actually dropped because a handful of his victims had committed suicide and one woman passed away from cancer. However, Variety released a public statement saying, I quote, "Just because all charges were dropped doesn't mean that many won't or shouldn't be wary of working with him again." That would be so messed up, let me just say that. We've made it to number 1 and we have Molly Fitzgerald. I spoke about this actress in a previous video after she made headlines for being charged with murder. She took on the role of Stargirl in Captain America: The First Avenger, and she might have just lost any chance of being cast in a movie ever again. The 38-year-old actress was arrested and charged with second-degree murder for stabbing her own mother to death. Her mother was 68 years old and was found dead in her home. Molly was jailed on a $500,000 bond, and her next court date is scheduled for tomorrow, January 9th. I'm getting anxious. We still don't know any details yet on the case, and it hasn't been confirmed that she actually committed the murder, but it kinda is looking that way. Either way, having murder charges on your record probably isn't something that casting directors are willing to look past. Plus, if she is found guilty, she'll be spending 2020 behind bars, and many years after that.
Starting off our list today in the number 10 spot, we have Stolen from Set. You ever wonder why it's said that Sarah Jessica Parker has one of the best closets in the world? Well, it's probably because the star stole so much of the clothing, bags, shoes, and accessories from the set of Sex in the City. Sarah's stealing got so bad that now she has around 95% of the clothing she wore on the hit drama series stored in her closet. While Sarah isn't the only actor who's ever taken things from set, she probably has been the one to take the most expensive things from set, as a lot of her wardrobe was high-end designer clothing. Stealing the clothing also caused a lot of problems for the film crew, as when they went to go back and refilm some scenes, they would have to delay it because she had already brought in some of the articles that she was wearing home. So because of her stealing habits, she lost a lot of credit within the industry. Number 9. Kim Cattrall-Ripped. Gracing the cover of Variety's Power of Woman issue back in 2022, Kim would open up about the SATC revival for the very first time since it aired on HBO Max in 2021. With Kim playing Samantha Jones throughout the original show's 6 seasons and 2 movies, many found it disappointing that she was absent from the revival. But it wasn't really a surprise, considering we have all been following the messy feud between Kim and her co-stars for years now. With the alleged off-screen tensions being between Sarah and Kim, it's been long presumed that it's centered around money, with Sarah being paid significantly more than the other woman on the show, prompting Kim to negotiate a higher salary. However, it seems like their feud ended up causing Kim to close one door and start another chapter, as she was heartbroken over Sarah's toxic behavior on set and felt like she just didn't belong. Number 8. Only does projects with smaller budgets. Though most people have trouble when it comes to separating Sarah Jessica Parker from Carrie Bradshaw, the truth is, they're completely different people, as they live in very different lives. Even their personalities are different in many ways. With Carrie loving all the glitz and glamour, Sarah tends to be a little more down to earth, considering she likes to thrift and buy eco-friendly clothing. There's a huge difference between the two. Sarah once even revealed that she only likes doing acting projects that have a smaller budget, rather than working on huge movies and TV shows. But given her name and what she's worth, a lot of small budget movies or TV shows can't support her pay wage or a budget. On top of everything else, it seems like small budget movies these days are hard to come by, unless you count short films. When she has found those types of roles, she nearly misses out on them because she didn't want to dye her hair or sign to a long-term project. She just has a lot of trouble with it. Number 7. Chris Noth. With all the drama surrounding Chris Noth, a lot of people have had a lot of questions for Sarah Jessica Parker, considering she worked with the star on the set. Despite it being months since multiple women came forward to accuse Chris of misconduct, Sarah Jessica Parker Parker would seem to be unprepared when it came to a field of questions on the subject, and when she was asked her reaction to the controversy as a producer, she would tell THR, "I don't even know if I'm ready to talk about it, but I don't think I wasn't reacting as a producer. I should have worked on this because it's just. And then she went on to note that since the allegations came forward, she hasn't spoken to him. But something was odd about her take, and it makes you wonder if she knew anything that was going on before it all happened. Otherwise, why would she act like she was a deer in headlights? Especially since the cast of SATC would come out to say shortly after their allegations, and they would say they were sad to hear about the allegations and they supported the woman who had come forward to share their experiences and noted that it must have been a difficult thing for these women to do. Number 6. LGBTQ outrage. Back in 2019, Sarah Jessica Parker sparked a lot of outrage when she made a special mention of the LGBT veterans in her tribute to fallen soldiers on Memorial Day. After the actor was criticized for encouraging decisions and reinforcing stereotypes with her Instagram post, in the post she would say, "On this Memorial Day, it is an honor to remember all of our men, women, LGBT veterans who sacrificed, who face selflessly and with grace, who have our lasting gratitude." Immediately, fans started to call out the star for being too politically correct by giving members of the military a special mention, with one saying, "Why can't it just be everyone that served? Are we so politically correct that we can't just honor all veterans?" And another fan would say, "Without singling out a certain group, I have a transgender relative. The last thing he wants is to be singled out. His sexuality has nothing to do with service." Number 5. Red carpet looks. We all know Sarah Jessica Parker is a fashion icon, but there's been times where we all had to look at the actor and say to ourselves, what the heck are you wearing? Now I get it, everybody's style is different, and we all have found this sort of comfort in certain things, and that's why we wear it, and why we shouldn't judge other people. But it's clear that Hollywood is judging Sarah based on her looks, as they feel like Carrie just doesn't fit her overall image any longer. With the star wearing whatever she wants, she usually doesn't tend to worry about if her clothing is matching, which causes a lot of Hollywood to seriously raise their eyebrows, as they have for a long time labeled her as a fashion icon, and when she pushes boundaries, they can't help but think, why was she casted into the position of Carrie Bradshaw to begin with? Even with all the scrutiny, the actor has chosen to call out her haters by saying, "Most of us try to make a choice that makes us feel good, or like ourselves, or appropriate for where we're going, or who we're going with. We don't walk up to each other and say things like, ugh, awful." Number 4. Typecasted. We all laughed and cried when SATC came to an end. While we all rooted for Mr. Big despite his unfortunate ways, the show still managed to have a huge impact on us. And it seems like with Sarah Jessica Parker, she's found herself being typecasted as Carrie Bradshaw, as beside from her role in the new Hocus Pocus movie, she hasn't really been casted in anything else, and as she is, her characters are exactly like the character in SATC. With her having her first big role after SATC in the film The Family Stone, her character immediately took us back to an episode where Carrie got caught in the rain and squeals that infamous scream while running down the streets downtown in New York City in heels, as her character has all the same emotional hiccups. And within this type of character, it's becoming really outdated in the industry. It's been really hard for her to find roles in the industry, as now there are 1,000 people in Hollywood auditioning for the same types of roles, and now that she's a little older, she's finding herself being casted out by the younger actors coming up from beneath her. Number 3. Through some major shade. The world could have almost been a different place, as there was a point Sarah was having doubt about her character on SATC. With the show making both Sarah and her character Carrie Bradshaw icons, they were both able to change the way modern audiences view some of the issues that were raised on the show. So it's pretty difficult to imagine that there was a time when Parker was seriously considering not accepting her role. However, her main doubts revolved around not wanting to do a TV series for a long term. But in the end, Darren Star wanted her to play Bradshaw, and she agreed to sign on. But that hasn't stopped her from shading her character and how she addressed it. And she's even gone on to note the major differences they both have and how she never would spend the way her character did on a daily basis. Number 2. Gray hair. Sarah Jessica Parker has been facing scrutiny for years for having some gray hairs, especially after thousands of fans read an Allure article that detailed fans all about them. With With the headline screaming, "Sarah Jessica Parker goes gray," images would soon go viral, and it became a month-to-month conversation about how brave Sarah was for bracing her own gray hair. To the point even Sarah is pleading with her fans to go applaud someone else who has courage on something else, especially since she hasn't even stopped coloring her hair in the grays everyone was pointing out, or just hair boning highlights that were bleached out from the sun. Coming in at number 1, we have Anya Taylor-Joy. Anya Taylor-Joy once got to live out every female's dream of meeting Sarah Jessica Parker and talking about her days on SATC. Unfortunately, the experience seemed more awkward than sweet as the actress went into details about the bad experience when she made an appearance on the Drew Barrymore show. During the interview, Drew would tell the Queen's Gambit star, "As a girl, I'm totally in love with you. I heard you like raves, you like SATC, you're cool, you're fun. Age transcends, I just want to hang out with you and bring back dance parties." Drew then went on to ask Anya if it was true that she went up to Sarah Jessica Parker and was like, "I'm watching you and Big." Anya then cringed at the moment and said when she fangirled over the star, Sarah just freaked out and was a little uncomfortable and responded by saying, "Okay, I'm going back to my car now." It seems like Sarah was really not into spilling anything out to Anna because she was spilling out her whole bad breakup vibe and she didn't really care to give her knowledge or telling her how she could get through it.
First up, racial ambiguity. These days, being diverse in Hollywood is a positive, and most studios are looking to diversify their casting choices. But in the case of Jessica Alba, her ambiguous ethnicity hurt her casting prospects because the industry is not able to fit her into a box like they do with other actors. Jessica Alba came up in the film industry in the late 1990s and early 2000s when it was hard to land spots in big movies unless your complexion was very light. But it seems she was not white enough to get lead roles. Alba spoke to Pop Sugar about how her ethnicity impacted her casting, saying, quote, "They couldn't figure out my ethnicity. They were like, you're not Latin enough to play a Latina and you're not Caucasian enough to play the leading lady, so you're going to be the exotic one." After hearing comments like this, she was more determined than ever to play the leading lady. Since she's helmed tons of movies in her day, it's clear that she met that goal. However, that was short-lived, and she's now rarely on the big screen. In case you were wondering, Alba stated that her mother is white and her father is Mexican American. Aged out of roles. Back when Alba was in her heyday, she was starring in movies as the bombshell side character, known mainly for her good looks. Many of her roles were all about how she looked and increasing the sex appeal of the movie to audiences. Her main roles happened in her mid-20s, usually a scantily clad love interest or object of desire for male characters. She even graced the pages of adult magazines like Maxim. Since Alba is now older and more mature, she would not consider playing a role like that. But since that's all she's ever played, it would be difficult for a casting director to all of a sudden put her in a different light to audiences that already know Jessica Alba's type. And most of the decisions in casting are based on audience perception. Leading roles flopped. When it comes to casting in leading roles, it does not usually come down to talent, rather how much money studios believe the actor can make. And unfortunately, Alba has not made studios much money when she was the leading lady in her films. This has essentially blacklisted her from ever helming a movie again. Jessica Alba was given a few shots at big screen stardom in the 2000s and sadly did not deliver what executives were looking for. There are only a handful of movies that she played a prominent role in that made over $100 million at the box office. These movies were Fantastic Four and Fantastic Four: Rise of the Silver Surfer, which also starred other big names. Alba had smaller roles in big hits like Little Fockers and Valentine's Day, but her roles were so minimal she's hardly remembered as being in them. Honestly, most of the movies she's been in are pretty forgettable, and I would be hard pressed to name any movies that she's been in. To name some of her biggest flops, the dance flick Honey took in $30 million in 2003, Good Luck Chuck brought in $35 million in 2007, Machete earned $26 million in 2010, and Escape from Planet Earth earned $57 million in 2013. After so many box office flops, it makes no sense for the film industry to take any more chances on her. Next up, harsh reviews. Other than making money, the second benchmark of a good movie is good reviews from the audience and critics. If an actor is able to score both, they have a long career ahead of them, but not being able to get either is a recipe for disaster. Jessica Alba seems to have the disaster formula. Her movies hardly make any money, along with getting horrible reviews. Not one but two movies that she's been in, An Invisible Sign and Killers Anonymous, scored a 0% on Rotten Tomatoes. I didn't even know that was possible, while tons of other movies like Good Luck Chuck and The Love Guru failed to get over 20%. Even though she wasn't the star of any of these films, the fact that she's been in so many duds has put a stain on her relationship, because there is the potential that she is the bad egg in all of them. Many people have noticed her bad acting, and she's even won Razzies in the past, which are awards given to the worst actors and movies. She's been nominated for Worst Actress 3 times, were a Screen Couple once, and actually took home the award for Worst Supporting Actress in 2011. That type of attention is not something you want if you're casting for an important movie. Gave up. One of the main reasons Alba is not working anymore is that she decided to somewhat retire when she was 27. Since then, she's been more focused on having a family and being with her kids. Alba told Access Hollywood, quote, "I really stopped acting when I was 27 full time," adding if I did do a job, it was really kind of a short period of time. But she made a point to not shut the door on acting for good, and instead only take roles when they felt like the right fit. She told Working Mother, quote, "I'm open to diving back into acting. It's my passion and my heart. I didn't take time from acting completely, but I certainly didn't make it a focus." At this point, Alba has a big family and other business ventures, so it seems she does not regret her decision. Honest Company. Speaking of Alba's other ventures, the most successful has been her beauty brand, The Honest Company. Alba co-founded the company after she had a bad experience using a traditional laundry detergent on her kids' clothes. Her newborn daughter broke out in hives after Alba washed her clothes because the baby could not handle the strong detergent. After this horrible experience, Alba set out to make products without toxins and harsh chemicals that would be safe for kids and people with sensitive skin. She hired Healthy Child, Healthy World author Christopher Gavin as a consultant, and LegalZoom founder Brian Lee to form Love and Honor, renamed The Honest Company when it launched in 2012. The company has been incredibly successful, selling $10 million worth of products in its first year. By 2015, The Honest Company offered more than 130 products and was sold in 4,400 stores. Alba's company generated $150 million that year, right around the time it enjoyed a market valuation of $1.7 billion. Since The Honest Company has been such a success, there's no reason to go back to the acting world. TV shows did no better. Movies are generally where all actors want to be. They don't call the biggest celebrities movie stars for no reason. So when Alba had a hard time getting cast in movies, she took a shot at the next best thing, television. In 2019, Jessica Alba walked away from an acting career focused on movies and took her first leading role in an episodic television show, LA's Finest. The show was about two female cops starring alongside Gabrielle Union. The type of show was pretty typical, being similar to most other cop shows, which is not great if you're trying to get out of a rut. Critical reviews were so-so, and it scored a 24% on Rotten Tomatoes, with audience ratings not being much better. The show also aired on Spectrum, which didn't help it get attention. Shockingly, the show was renewed for a second season. Fox also decided to buy the show and play reruns on their network to fill empty slots. But unfortunately, the show did even worse on Fox than on Spectrum. The show was obviously not picked up for a third season. After this fiasco, her days on TV were finished. Health is now her priority. While speaking with Romper magazine, Alba revealed that she quit acting in her heyday because she wanted to focus on her health and being with her kids as much as possible. She explained to the outlet that after she had her first child, Honor, in 2008, her mindset on everything changed. She explained how her mother had cancer when she was very young, in her early 20s, and Alba herself grew up with chronic illness as a child. These experiences made her understand that health is the most important thing in life. Adding, quote, "That's really what motivated me. My motivation was not like, am I ever going to get hired again? Frankly, I was at the top of my career. I couldn't go back to what I was doing before and be authentic. I just couldn't. I didn't care about it in the same way." After having children, Alba realized that she wanted to do something bigger with her life and actually make a difference in the world with the platform that she had. One of the main aspects of health is using clean products whenever possible, which is of course what drove her to start The Honest Company in 2012. Katherine Heigl was introduced to the general public when she was cast as Dr. Isabel Stevens on Grey's Anatomy in 2005, and she was quickly considered the breakout character. And even though the show made her a star, it also caused her downfall. Then in 2007, she starred in rom-com hits like Knocked Up alongside Seth Rogen. Then that same year, she won an Emmy for her performance on Grey's, winning the Best Supporting Actress Drama Award. Then she starred in rom-com 27 Dresses, which was a huge box office hit. And because of all of this happening in a short time, she became a bona fide celebrity, a regular on Hollywood's sexiest lists and magazine covers. In 2008, she was even voted the most desirable woman, according to AskMen.com. That same year, she was primed to win the Emmy again for her role in Grey's, but she made one entitled move and it cost her whole career. Right before the Emmys, she pulled herself out of contention for the award, with her reason being that she didn't think her role in season 4 was, quote, given the material to warrant a win. Saying in a statement, quote, "I did not feel I was given the material this season to warrant an Emmy nomination, and in an effort to maintain the integrity of the Academy organization, I withdrew my name from contention. In addition, I did not want to potentially take away an opportunity from an actress who was given such materials." And obviously, a move like that is not only ridiculous, but also incredibly shady towards the show's creator and writer, Shonda Rhimes. as well as everyone else on the show. And Rhimes actually had a reason for not giving Heigl as much material. Apparently Heigl told her that she wanted a lighter work schedule, and the show acted accordingly. But after that, even though plenty of people absolutely hated Heigl, she still managed to book some more roles. She starred in The Ugly Truth, Killers with Ashton Kutcher, and Life as We Know It, all which had pretty good success and she was paid very well for. But the situation for Heigl went from bad to worse on March 11, 2010, when she reportedly did not show up for work on Grey's Anatomy, and Rhimes reached an agreement to immediately release Heigl from her contract. And although the show played it off as cool in the beginning, Rhimes later told Oprah Winfrey that Heigl's Emmy statement stung, saying, quote, "On some level it stung, on some level I was not surprised." Adding, quote, "When people show you who they are, believe them. I carry that with me a lot. It has served me well." Then even admitting to The Hollywood Reporter later on in 2014 that Rhimes has a, quote, "no policy." Adding, quote, "There are no Heigls on set and I don't put up with bullshit or nasty people," hinting at their feud. To make things worse, around the same time, Heigl received a Golden Raspberry Award nomination for Worst Actress. Yikes. Then 2 years later, when Heigl's career was looking really rough, she actually went back to the show and begged to get back on set and finish out Izzy's storyline, even saying that she missed the show and the work environment in general. But of course, they did not take her back after she embarrassed them like that. This is when the bad really started, and in the 2010s, whatever role she had was generally a flop. Heigl finally apologized for her Grey's snub in a 2016 interview with Howard Stern, admitting that she was embarrassed and actually approached Rhimes after it all went down to apologize. Saying in the interview, quote, "I went in because I was really embarrassed, so I went to Shonda and said, 'I'm so sorry, that wasn't cool. I shouldn't have said that. And I shouldn't have said anything publicly. But at the time, I didn't think anybody would notice. I just quietly didn't submit and then it became a story. I felt like I was obligated to make a statement.'" But after some time in the dumps and showing remorse for her bad actions, it seems that Hollywood has given her another chance. This came in the form of Meghan Markle leaving Suits to get married to Prince Harry, with Heigl taking Markle's spot. Heigl was cast as Samantha Wheeler in season 8 of the hit show, saying it all happened because she was obsessed with the show, and even contacted the creator to see if there was a potential that they could collaborate. And luckily he needed someone for the show and ended up casting Heigl for the role. And when speaking about the role, she said, quote, "I am playing one of the most interesting and bad women I have the opportunity to play." But that's not all. She was also cast in Firefly Lane, a Netflix series based on the novel by Kristen Hanna. So after all the drama, it seems like she might be making a comeback once again. And all fans can hope is that she learned her lesson and will not squander the new opportunities that she has been given.
Compared to his former castmates like Kristen Stewart and Robert Pattinson, Taylor wasn't able to hold on to the success that he got from being in the Twilight movies. In fact, it was right after the series ended that Taylor's career started to fumble. Like any other actor would, he started looking for work and he was cast in a few movies. His first film after Twilight was Abduction, and unfortunately it bombed at the box office. Following that failure, he was booked in another role a few years later in the film Tracers, and that didn't do very well either. At this point, Hollywood was starting to notice this new pattern of movie failures, and it was at this point that Taylor's career started to suffer. Before I continue on with the video, I just want to ask you guys to consider leaving a like on this video if you're enjoying it so far. Thank you for your support and for helping our channel grow, we really appreciate it. The films Taylor starred in following his time in the Twilight Saga were both action films, and since they both ended up tanking and getting poor views, people started thinking that maybe Taylor just wasn't cut out for these kinds of movies. I mean, when you think about it, he became a big name actor through Twilight, and his character was essentially there for the sex appeal. He was good at looking good and being dramatic. After all, it was a teen drama film. So coming out of that and seeing him fail at being an action star, people just assumed that since Taylor was Jacob Black for so long, that he was lost in Twilight's shadow. Even though Taylor branched out from action and tried comedy, his 2016 film The Ridiculous Six failed as well, and is also one of the few films to have a 0% rating on Rotten Tomatoes. So now at this point he's failing as an actor. He's not getting booked for any new roles because of the fact that productions that he's been in have failed, and people are thinking that Taylor just can't hold his own. Taylor has said that after Twilight was over, he wanted to branch out and try different styles and genres, since he'd really only been in one or two things throughout his career before then. He didn't want to become a stale actor, but unfortunately that's what he was becoming. On top of that, no one wanted to hire him because of his asking salary. Though he still saw himself as a big name actor, other executives did not, so his asking salary of $10 million per production seemed a little too steep a price point for taking a risk on Taylor. All of this was just hurting Taylor's career even more. You see, so many people are saying that Taylor needs to grow as an actor, and to do that he needs to be in a bunch more productions so that he can evolve his acting style and be able to adapt better to life outside of Twilight. He was in that franchise for so long that he's almost forgotten what else is possible for him. But on the other side of things, he isn't being given the chance to evolve and grow as an actor because Hollywood just won't give him a chance. They've seen his movies fail and they don't want to risk it again. Kristen and Robert were able to make it and grow out of Twilight and become bigger actors, so why can't Taylor? And how can you grow like his former co-stars? The answer is indie films. After Twilight ended, both Kristen and Robert dabbled in the indie film scene, and since these are out of Hollywood's reach for the most part, anything goes. These films have smaller budgets and don't have major corporations breathing down their necks, so really anything is possible on the indie scene, and things are more creatively liberating. But how does this help actors? Well, it gives them the perfect opportunities to grow. Like I mentioned, Robert and Kristen were able to shed their Twilight skins, if you will, and were able to outgrow that franchise because they took some time to act in indie films and grow as actors. Though they're still questioned about Twilight and compared to their roles from those days, they're also still cast in a lot of big Hollywood films because Hollywood knows that they're more versatile. I mean, Robert has gone from Twinkly Vampire to Batman, so success is possible. If Taylor wants to do what he said and grow as an actor, indie films are the perfect place to start. There are an array of different roles to film and so many genres to try out, and since they're independent films, there's more creative freedom and place to grow than within a big budget corporate Hollywood film. If he takes some time to grow in the indie scene, he might be Hollywood ready in a couple years, and he could very well make a comeback, even to the degree of Kristen and Robert. Right now though, it doesn't seem like he's all that interested in making his return. He's reportedly working on his relationships, his family, and himself, but maybe if he feels like he's ready to try again, we could see a second coming of Lautner. Now I want to throw it over to you guys and get your opinions in the comments. I know we haven't seen very much coming from Taylor in recent years. He's been in a few episodes of Scream Queens, but other than that, we haven't really seen much else from him. Do you guys think he can make a comeback, especially if he tries indie films like I had suggested? There have been so many other Twilight actors who were never really able to pick up on their fame since the saga ended, so do you think that Taylor can do it? I know he's had some movies tank in the past, but I don't know, I just feel like he wasn't given a fair chance. Hollywood saw him as a goldmine of potential at first, but later on when things didn't pan out, he was basically just dropped. But I feel like Robert and Kristen were given a better chance because they were slightly more famous and likable in the industry. It's all just speculation and my own opinion, but let me know your thoughts on the matter. I would personally love to see Taylor make a comeback, and not as the guy with the muscles, but in a real meaningful way, you know? Also, he could have used the Shark Boy and Lava Girl reboot to make a comeback, but he didn't. He turned it down instead. Does this mean that he's done with acting? I don't know. I think I'm just mad because he would have made that movie great, especially if he rebooted the Dream song. Actor Tom Felton, best known for his role as Draco Malfoy in the Harry Potter series, hasn't really been seen much in Hollywood ever since the series ended. As one of the breakout stars of the franchise, you would think that Hollywood would be trying to hire Tom for every role possible, but unfortunately for the actor, that isn't exactly the case. Though he has had a lot of success in earlier days of his career, things just haven't been the same in recent years, and there could be a number of reasons as to why that is. Today we're going to talk about the real reason Hollywood won't cast Tom Felton anymore. Too much pressure. I know that there are a lot of kids out there who dream of being the next big Hollywood star. A lot of actors begin their careers at young ages, and some of those child actors go on to be pretty big successes, but with that success comes a pretty big downside. Many former child actors have spoken out about their experiences of being in the spotlight at such a young age, and it doesn't sound like all sunshine and rainbows at all. This is one of the grievances that Tom Felton has with his career, and this could be one of the things that has held him back from the entertainment industry in later years. Tom has spoken out about the pressures of being a child actor, and a very famous one at that, since he was one of the stars of the biggest film franchises ever. Tom, when talking about his childhood, has said that he kind of resents the Harry Potter series and his part in it because he said that it robbed him of a normal childhood. That's completely understandable, since usually kids don't have to grow up in the public eye, doing interviews, press conferences, and having paparazzi breathing down their necks. When Tom was asked about how he felt about the Harry Potter series coming to an end, he seemed a little bitter towards the films when he said that he was looking forward to it all being over and to having the freedom of not starring in films anymore because he hated his fame. Saying something like that might make Hollywood a little hesitant about hiring someone who hates their craft and what comes with it. Continuing on about his feelings towards the films and the part he played in his success, Tom told the Daily Mail, quote, "One thing that people keep on saying to me is that the wealth and fame must have made up for missing out on my childhood. But the idea of money putting a price on your childhood is ridiculous. To me, fame is not a positive thing. The idea of being famous is a lot better than the reality. It's fantastic when you go to premieres and people cheer for you, but it's not real." End quote. His resentment towards everything might have hurt his career in the long run. Career change. Usually when an actor gets out of one project, they start looking for the next big thing, that next big thing normally being another show or movie. But this wasn't exactly the case with Tom Felton. When his fellow Harry Potter castmates wrapped up their time in the franchise, Daniel Radcliffe moved on to Broadway and indie films, Emma Watson went to college, became an ambassador for a number of projects, and continued acting, but for Tom Felton, his next career move after Harry Potter was moving on to music, specifically rap. Yeah. He decided to leave the world of acting behind and got into the music scene, and in 2011 he announced that he had actually signed a contract with an indie label to produce some hip-hop music. Speaking out about this new part in his life, the actor said, quote, "I was thinking of doing some N-dub style stuff. I'm looking to get into the grime rap UK scene." End quote. He continued saying that he was really doing this to change his image. This really goes hand in hand with what he said about resenting his image as an actor and everything that came with it, so again, these comments and sudden career change certainly didn't help him out in Hollywood. What really sucked about this huge career change for Tom was the fact that his music never quite took off. Some songs had hit the public circuit, but not enough to really say that he found his next career path. It hurt his career taking this leap of faith and not having it pan out in his favor. Now before we carry on talking about why Hollywood doesn't want to work with Tom Felton anymore, why not take a moment to leave a like on this video if you're enjoying it so far, and while you're at it, consider subscribing to the channel to see more videos like this one. Typecasting. Because Tom Felton played the role of Draco Malfoy so well, it ended up being more of a hindrance to his career rather than an asset. Draco was pretty much an antagonist character in the Harry Potter series, and because Tom was so good at portraying a character who was mean and cold, this made Hollywood executives want to cast him in more roles similar to Draco's character. Though this could be good in some way, it also puts an actor in a box because no matter what other roles he's cast in, he's still seen as the villain. Tom Felton has spoken out on a number of occasions, saying that his natural personality is nothing like that of Draco Malfoy, so he really wanted to distance himself from playing a villain role. But again, when typecasting comes into play, it's hard to get out of that box that Hollywood has put you in. Even the first role that Tom booked right after Harry Potter ended was an antagonist character, so this really just showed the actor that he was certainly stuck within his craft. Even Harry Potter himself, Daniel Radcliffe, had a hard time booking roles after the series ended because everyone still saw him as the boy wizard, but he worked really hard to break that image and still continues to do so. Maybe if Tom Felton had done what Daniel did, then he would be more successful in Hollywood these days. Adjustment. Another reason that Hollywood might be overlooking Tom Felton for new roles could be because of the adjustment period that Tom took after wrapping on Harry Potter. Tom has opened up in the past about how it took him some time to get used to the idea of auditioning for roles again and not having them handed to him as the next installment of Harry Potter would start up pretty much right after the last one ended. He had been doing that same routine since starting his work on the films at the age of 12, and so this was a big change for him to have to seek out new work. During an interview with the Daily Mail in 2011, Tom opened up about how he had to adjust the auditioning process again, saying that things were much harder for him coming back to it after so many years. He told the publication, quote, "I'm much more nervous in auditions now than when I was 11. You take a lot of hits before you get something good. The first few were heartbreaking." End quote. The actor even went on to say that auditioning became so hard for him that he considered walking away from the business altogether. As you can imagine, auditioning is a huge part of being an actor, and so nailing an audition is really what makes or breaks one's career. Since Tom had such a hard time getting back into it, Hollywood might have seen this as a huge weakness and might not have wanted to take a chance on the actor because of it. Box office bombs. We all know by now that money is really what matters to people in the film industry. I mean, yeah, there are those few in the industry who do it all for the love of the craft, but for the most part, people are just out here trying to make the big bucks. Film executives want to hire the best people for their projects to make sure that their projects go well and are successful enough to make them lots of dough, so when things go left and films bomb at the box office, it ends up hurting a lot of people. Not only will the studio have lost a lot of money, but the actors would also be blamed for the movie not doing well because of their performance. This can cause actors to lose a lot of credibility in the industry because people rarely want to take a chance on people who might not make the contribution that they're looking for in regards to their film. This could be why Tom Felton hasn't really been hired much in Hollywood these days, because some of the films that Tom booked following the end of Harry Potter didn't really do too well. To some, Tom isn't considered a bankable actor in Hollywood because his recent films haven't brought in much money for the studio, and that's never a good thing. Being associated with so many box office bombs doesn't make a casting agent's job very easy because they can only do so much to get their client's foot in the door and in front of the director. This is why a lot of actors turn to indie films when coming out of big franchises. Actors like Daniel Radcliffe and Taylor Lautner have gone into the indie circuit after leaving their respective hit films because it's a good way to get into the industry without being pressured to make a lot of money. It's almost like building yourself and your career back from the ground up. So maybe Tom should look into this before really throwing in the towel with Hollywood. He's still a notable name, he's just gotta grind it out to get back on top and back in Hollywood's good books. Maybe we'll see this in the new year.
Number 10. The alleged racism. Jennifer and Ben Affleck tied the knot in a surprise wedding in Las Vegas and decided to have a bigger ceremony not long after. This time around, they opted to celebrate at Ben's 87-acre compound that is just outside of Savannah, Georgia. But this choice in venue sparked criticism that shouldn't be ignored. Called by the family as the Big House, Ben purchased the home in 2003 and it features 3 separate homes within: the Oyster House, the Summer House, and the Greek Revival style home. The listing agent said, when talking about the home, every detail is historically accurate, from the plaster moldings to the heart of the pine floors. But it seems that because of being historically accurate in nature, it's left fans wondering. Commenters on social media began criticizing the couple for hosting a celebration at a plantation, which of course is a style of home that has association with some pretty horrible history. To make matters worse, Ben and Jen were aware of the dark history in his ancestral line. News One reported that 7 years later, Ben issued an apology after requesting the PBS show Finding Your Roots withheld information about his plantation-owning ancestor. This allegedly even led to PBS shelving the show. This left many fans wondering why the couple would choose this home at all as their wedding venue, as well as why they own it in the first place. Despite finding his roots and knowing some of his ancestors' dark past, many found this to highlight some problematic behavior of ignoring the dark history of some of the buildings. Though the house itself isn't true in time, the land is. The property was reportedly owned by a plantation manager and allegedly is an unmarked graveyard. Most assume that Jennifer was aware of this information prior to planning her wedding there, and this hasn't left a good taste in many fans' mouths about the couple since.
Number 9. Talk smack about other actresses. When a reporter from Movie Line turned up at Jennifer Lopez's home to conduct an interview in 1998, he was greeted with what he described as being an orchestrated and deliberate scene. While JLo was being pampered by a number of different staff members doing her business, while she was getting a massage, she seemingly felt the need to let loose during the interview as she started taking swipes at a number of her industry rivals. When she was asked what she thought about the actresses of whom she was competing for roles for, she said the Romeo and Juliet star Claire Danes does the same thing with every character she does, despite the fact that they work together on the set of Oliver Stone's neo-noir crime thriller U-Turn. Lopez then went on to say she was never really a big fan of the 2-time Oscar nominee Winona Ryder, and she also went off on Gwyneth Paltrow, who would win Best Actress at the Academy Awards the following year, by saying, "Tell me what she's been in." Jennifer then went on to tell the reporter in the infamous interview, "I swear to God, I don't remember anything she was in. Some people get hot by association. I've heard more about her and Brad Pitt than I've ever heard about her work." Hey my little peaches, are you liking this video so far? If so, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel.
Number 8. Bad acting. You can't deny Jennifer Lopez had some movie hits in the past, but lately fans are torn, questioning if she has just lost the touch. After failing to get a nomination for Best Supporting Actress in the movie Hustlers in 2020, fans took to social media to share their thoughts. The TV host Wendy Williams believed she was completely snubbed, saying, "Let me tell you something, Jen, you were robbed. They robbed you purposely because they're jealous of you." But some fans just didn't agree, speculating that it was her acting that was a direct result in the 0 nominations. A fan wrote at the time, "She has acted in 36 films but has never won an Oscar. Yeah, that's because they're all bad." They added, "No one wants to tell her the truth. Hustlers was a terrible movie, and her acting was very one-dimensional." Other fans seem to agree that maybe Jennifer has lost the sparkle that she did once have. On Reddit, when asked, "What do you think of Jennifer Lopez?" one user wrote, "She had promise. Honestly, she has fallen prey to the fame game. She brought solid work for a couple films, but she is no longer a phenomenon or a rare talent." They even went on to add, "She can fade with people taking very little notice. Things have a way of working themselves out." Harsh statements for sure, but what do you guys think? Are Jennifer's acting days behind her?
Number 7. Insults musicians. During another Movie Line interview, Jennifer also offered her opinion on fellow pop star Madonna's career when she claimed Madonna was good at the former, but not so good at the latter by saying, "Do I think she's a great performer? Yeah. Do I think she's a great actress? No. Acting is what I do, so I'm harder on people when I say, oh, I can do that, I can act. I'm like, hey, don't spit on my craft." However, the Queen of Pop isn't the only musician Lopez has shaded, as there has been much speculation that J-Lo's short-lived relationship with Drake in 2016 was nothing but a publicity stunt. However, the fact that Rihanna, who had somewhat of a complicated relationship with the Canadian rapper over the years, unfollowed Lopez on Instagram after she was posted in a pic across the Grammy winners, it seems to suggest that there indeed was some truth to the coupling. Lopez then revealed that she and Drake were working on a song together, but working with J-Lo doesn't always end well, and Drake learned that the hard way after she dissed Drake during a live show in Las Vegas by telling the audience that he was nothing but a late night call for her. And we all wonder why he won't bring a nice girl home to his mom for once.
Number 6. Insensitive comments. Jennifer Lopez was called out for some criticized comments made about her Super Bowl halftime performance in 2020. For the halftime show, J-Lo came together with Shakira for an iconic event. Despite having 6 minutes of performance times each, it received a huge amount of praise from the stars. However, after Jen's documentary Halftime came out, discussing some of the struggles of the show, a few fans took back their former praise. Not only did Jen brand the whole thing as the worst idea in the world, but she had some very specific views on a political aspect. It seems her organizers just weren't seeing eye to eye with her at the time. During her performance, she was surrounded by children sitting cross-legged inside a glowing cage. Many came to the conclusion that these glowing cages were intended to look like immigrant children being held in cages at the US detention centers. You're probably thinking, how could this be bad, as this is a topic that should be more widely discussed? But it was her comments afterwards that got fans pretty heated. It seems the NFL was more reluctant to include this moment at all, which pushed J-Lo to fight back at the show's organizers in a heated phone call which was shown in her documentary. She said, "I'm trying to give you something with substance, not just out here shaking our effing butts and effing belly dancing." She went on to say, "I want something real, I want something that's going to make a statement." Not long after the documentary was released, a certain line about belly dancing found its way across Twitter. One Twitter user wrote, "In a new documentary, J-Lo compared belly dancing to just shaking your butt. She said this type of dance and what Shakira offered wasn't culturally relevant enough to be shown on stage." They continued on by saying, "This comes after she said she was not happy to share the stage with Shakira. She's bitter, loud, and wrong." Others even accused her of having an ethocentric mindset, where she believes her culture is superior to others. One other social media user wrote, "To say that belly dancing, a Middle Eastern culture, has no substance is so ethnocentric and perhaps a little racist."
Number 5. Drives co-stars crazy. Now, there's a list of actresses who have felt like Jennifer Lopez brings things a little too far on set, and one of those people's on the list is Cameron Diaz, especially after Jennifer went on to diss her about her career to Movie Line by labeling Cameron as a lucky model who's been given a lot of opportunities, to the point she wishes Cameron would have just done more with her talent. Jennifer's brutal assessment of Cameron's career trajectory reportedly made things a tad awkward for the pair when the actresses were both cast in the 2012 film What to Do When You're Expecting. On-set sources would then reveal that the two on set just couldn't get along. Lopez then didn't endear herself to Cameron, who allegedly said the pop star was a nightmare to work with, as she once even said to Jen, she should stick with her day job, meaning American Idol and singing, as an insider even claimed that Jennifer demanded to eat at specific times, no matter what, and she would even stop work to have her assistant run her over some small protein and a veg-based meal. This drove Cameron crazy. Details of their feud would soon become a hot topic after it appeared in Star magazine, after a source claimed to the media outlet that the co-stars actively avoided one another by saying they don't interact much, but when they do, the tension is thick. And Jennifer just acts like Cameron doesn't exist. However, when both actresses denied the rift while promoting the movie, it then caused critics to say this was ultimately just all planned.
Number 4, music theft. From her career in acting to her music career, it seems controversies seem to follow her. Over the years, Jen has been accused of stealing songs from other prominent artists in order to gain more fame for her music quicker. Back in 2005, JLo released her 4th studio album, which was called Rebirth, though it seems to be received from some pretty mixed reviews. The song Get Right was pretty widely praised, and at the time it was reported that the singer Usher was furious though, accusing Jen of using his music. He said at the time, "I hate it, but I better get some of the publishing rights or else. I didn't put it on my album because I couldn't get it right. But I didn't expect JLo to just take it." According to Usher, Get It Right was his song with the title Ride, and it was available to listen to show proof that it was her that just re-recorded a version of his own song. Not only that, but Jen was also accused of using Ashanti's vocals for her song I'm Real. She said at the time, "You should always care about who you give credit to, regardless of what industry you're in. It's really important to give credit." Luckily, in the end, she did get credit, but still, it's not a very good look.
Number 3. Makes ridiculous demands. Most big musicians send riders when negotiating with a venue or organization prior to a gig, but if the stories are true, Jennifer Lopez has made some crazy diva demands over the last couple of years. As according to Huffington Post, JLo was all set to perform at the opening of the Indian Premier 2020 cricket tournament, which has a TV audience around 60 million people in 2013. But apparently, she lost the gig when IPL bosses found out that she was asking for a private plane, numerous hotel rooms to accommodate all of her stylists and handlers, and the organization was so shocked to even point out they didn't even want to play ball with Jennifer and they would replace her with Pitbull. However, apparently those demands are nothing when you compare them to the impossible requests she made ahead of her medley performance at the World Music Awards in 2010. As the Mirror would report that the singer allegedly requested a helicopter to be on standby, as well as a custom-fitted speedboat and a pair of diamond-encrusted headphones to drown out the sound of the boat's motor. And her people have even requested that she had an entire floor of a hotel to herself to ensure she isn't hassled. Privacy was such a main concern, she even once had a piece of beach roped off for her as well.
Number 2, problems with staff. Jem seems to have been accused of treating her staff honestly pretty terribly. During a storm of fans sharing their uncomfortable moments with Jen, one woman accused the star of being rude to her drivers. The TikTok user revealed that her father once worked for a company that Jen would use to hire and provide drivers for her. The TikToker claimed that Jen does not allow the drivers to look at her, and that even if the driver looks through the rear view mirror, they weren't exempt from Jen's scolding. Not only that, but she refused to have her luggage ever touch the ground. Because of her diva temperament, she shared that her father refused to drive for JLo because of all the horror stories that he heard through the grapevine. JLo is no stranger to being called a diva, but not even being able to make eye contact really does seem a little bit extreme.
And coming in at number 1 today, we have too full of herself. There's confidence and then there's arrogance, and Jennifer Lopez has walked a dangerous tightrope between both categories for years. As the star even once declared in an interview with MovieLine that she herself is an A-list celebrity. When MovieLine then asked her why she was a hot property in Hollywood at the time, she then delivered an incredibly immodest answer by saying, "Because I'm the best." She said, "I feel I can do anything, any kind of role, I'm fearless." This kind of honesty is somewhat refreshing, but having too much belief in yourself and your own abilities will inevitably get under the skin of your colleagues and viewers alike. Lopez then claimed to have something called the stardom glow, but not everyone saw it that way. At the time of her career, even though it was 1998, it was a good year for the star, but she certainly fell out of favor with critics in 2003 when she landed the Worst Actress title at the Golden Raspberry Awards. And ever since, her career has had a bunch of ups and downs, and it seems like it gets worse whenever the actor lets all the fame go to her head.